Well, I want to share with you all a little discovery, if I may, that I made in my 30s when I was surrounded by my friends and family, all finding love, getting married, and you know what comes next? The baby in the carriage. So I was surrounded by friends having babies. And whenever you're faced with a mother-to-be, it's a universally accepted question to ask the mother, what do you want to have? A boy or a girl? And it's a universally accepted response to this question to say, I don't care as long as my baby is healthy. The only thing that I want to have is a healthy baby. Now, I've been involved with plenty of these conversations myself over the years where I've said things like, gosh, wouldn't it be your worst nightmare to have a child that was born unhealthy? And then the other person may say things like, yeah, what would we do? Our life would be over if we had a child with a disability. We've all been there. We've been in these conversations. In fact, these words have floated out of my mouth many, many times and smacked me back in the head many times without really taking any effect. And then all of a sudden, it took me till I was 34 to realise I'm the unhealthy baby. I'm the baby that I've been talking about, that I've heard people say that I wasn't wanted. The only thing I want to have is a healthy baby. So does that make me everyone's worst nightmare? So I looked into this a bit further, and I'm not alone. According to these medical odds, 20% of us Australians are currently living with some form of disability. I knew that I wasn't alone. I've been to a few Paralympic Games. I've met thousands of super amazingly hot Paralympic athletes. So I knew I wasn't alone in this. And when you look at these odds, it becomes quite clear that disability is in fact likely, it's consistent, it doesn't discriminate, it's natural, it's a chance. So when we think about having this healthy baby, we're pretty much saying, give or take, that we want to have an able-bodied child, or an AB, as I like to call you all. So when you're thinking about an able-bodied child, in the medical world, we generally assess this as a child with 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 arms, 2 legs, and I don't know, a few of those major vital organs that you may or may not need. But does 2 arms and 2 legs automatically equate to being happy, successful? Does 10 fingers and 10 toes guarantee you joy and prosperity, even health? We know the answer to that question is no. Because I'm sure you're like me and you've met plenty of able-bodied people that aren't that healthy, aren't overly happy, miserable, and not overly successful, right? So then why is it okay to automatically assume that disability is lesser than? Why is it okay to associate disability as being an automatic reduction in the status of a person? Why is that okay? Why is it okay to even say that disability is your worst nightmare? If I said right now, put up your hand if you think you're normal. Come on, put it up. I'm guessing if there was anybody that was game enough to do it, you probably wouldn't be that popular at morning tea. But I think the most disabling thing that we do to ourselves is this quest for normalcy, this hunger for perfection. When I looked up the word disabled in the latest thesaurus entry, 2009, the antonyms, or the opposite to me, are words that I've been called on really good days, but they're words that I've been called: chipper, fit, healthy. I drink lots of green juice. I'm definitely whole. Now, I'm like you. I too want to have that healthy child. Of course, it's innate, it's natural. I'm desperately trying to find out whether my muscle wasting disease will in fact be passed on to my future unborn children. I get it. But we've just seen the chances of having a healthy child. We just saw them, and I've freely admitted that hearing that I'm the unwanted baby and hearing that people like me are people's worst nightmares, I told you how it affected me, and I would consider myself a woman with a fairly healthy dose of self-worth. So I told you all that. So what can we control in this scenario? We can't control whether we're going to have a healthy child to an extent. So what if we took out that word healthy and chucked it aside? And we brought in a word that describes something we can control. So what can we control in any scenario in life? We can always control our words, our language, and our attitude and our emotions, right? And our words and our language, they're so powerful that they can shape how we view the world, how we view ourselves, and more importantly in this situation, how other people view themselves. So we took out the word healthy and put in the word happy. What if we just started saying, all we want to have is a happy child? What if we replaced that one word that we can't control? Could that hand the unhealthy babies amongst us the gift of us feeling like we were in fact a gift to the world? Isn't that what all children are supposed to feel like? That they're gifts to their parents? What if it did that? By just replacing that one word. What if we all started feeling like we're a blessing? That we're a celebration? I'm here to tell you a story about being the happy child. I was born and diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy, and my parents were told the very black and white medical textbook definition which came along for this disease, which simply stated that their firstborn child wouldn't walk, wouldn't crawl, and would not live past her teenage years. Now, I'm very fortunate that the only reason I'm up here today, I'm healthy, I'm still walking, and I'm clearly just out of my teenage years, is because my parents started what I lovingly call a crazy rehab program. They started it with this standing frame, which, as you can probably imagine, trying to strap a 2-year-old into anything is practically impossible. And now that I'm a social worker, it's kind of illegal, but so my poor darling father disappeared in the backyard shed thinking, how can I make this thing enticing? He came back into the house very excitedly with this. Put it onto wheels, and on this contraption, my mother actually pushed me around the neighbourhood for up to 6 hours a day, every single day. Now this combined with swimming, horse riding, trampolining, I was lucky enough to walk at the age of 3.5. And this, to my parents, was their best day because they took back some power. They changed that prognosis that was so black and white. Exercise was working. From here, I went along to an able-bodied school in Rockhampton, which was quite a miracle in the 80s because integration wasn't a common concept. So I went along to this school, the only disabled kid at the school, and tried to keep up in the playground every single day. Every time a teacher would ask who wanted to play any sporting competition, first kid to put up my hand to play anything. So when I do walk, I walk with a pretty obvious limp. It does get better with vodka, but... So every sporting competition I entered, I came home with lots and lots of these good try ribbons. So my mother figured out that I wanted more and found a disabled sporting competition in Brisbane, and she entered me in the 25 metres freestyle event. I was 8 years of age, and when your mother enters you in the 25 metres freestyle event, you in fact believe that you can make 25 metres freestyle. I just thought Mum was being really supported by wearing her togs in the grandstands. So luckily for my mother, and the lifeguard. I made the very, very long 25 metres freestyle in 4 minutes and 56 seconds and came out with one of these. The magical blue ribbon. Sat my parents down in a very official type meeting at the age of 8 and said to Mum and Dad, it's obvious. I'm good. 25 metres, 4 minutes, 56 seconds. I've decided what I'm going to be with myself. I've decided what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to be an Olympian. I'm going to be a swimmer. I snatched a label, I took some power back, and I attached it to myself. It was mine. I found it. It was mine. I found my path, and very simply, I felt good at something. And my parents shone light on it and said, yes, you should do the most physical thing you can ever do in your life. Even though you've got a muscle wasting disease and can't lift your arms above your head. Great idea. So when a child finds what they're good at and then you combine that with the cheer squad, they're off. I went to a few Paralympic Games after this, and as I was retiring from sport and looking down at these tangible objects, these Paralympic medals, and trying to figure out what they meant, I was fortunate I figured it out really quickly when I was asked to speak at a medical convention. Thousands of doctors in the crowd. My mother desperately wanted to come along for the speech. You don't say no to my mother, so she came along. She stood in the back of the auditorium. I was up on stage, and I quickly figured out, devastatingly, why my mother wanted to come along for this speech when I locked eyes on the doctor that had diagnosed me. He was in the crowd. And he'd sent my parents along to a place when I was 3 years of age, which was a home purely for children with muscle wasting diseases to go in the last stage of their life. So my parents went along here when I was 3, and they saw children that were in electric wheelchairs. They were ventilated. And we think he did this to stop my mother from calling every Tuesday about questions about rehab, exercise, and my future. So here he was. At the end of my speech, I thought I had to chase him down. I didn't. He was coming this way. And so was my mother. Faster than Usain Bolt, she was travelling down those steps. So I knew I only had a couple of seconds to deliver the best speech of my life. And he threw this folder at me. Had my name on it. It was quite thick. It's like that thick. I was speechless. I opened it up, and all these press clippings of me fell out onto the floor. And I said to him, why on heaven's earth do you have all these media clippings of me? And he said to me that day, your mother has been sending me press clippings for the past 15 years. And on this day he said to me, every single time I meet a child just like you, I say these 3 words: exercise may help. That doctor now delivers a medical diagnosis with a side of hope because of my parents. Hope is the most powerful gift, the most powerful ingredient you can ever add to a person's life. They all showed me, that doctor and my parents showed me, that you can never underestimate the difference one person can make to another person's life. So what can we do? What's the difference we could make just by replacing that one word? By saying that all we want to have is a happy child will not decrease your chances of having a healthy child. By saying that all you want to have is a happy child will not decrease your chances of acquiring a disability, of your child acquiring a disability in the future. It won't. But what if that one word, increased the chances? What if that one word increased the chances of enabling the unhealthy babies amongst us to feel wanted, to feel like the dream, not the nightmare, to feel equal. Isn't it worth the risk? I'm going to take the risk right now, right here, right now, on this stage. All I want to have in the future, if I'm lucky enough to have a child, the only thing I want to have is a happy child. Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to finish with this. Mum and Dad, you had a child who was born and diagnosed with a muscle wasting disease. He grew up to be very, very happy. Thank you. Thanks.